Holy butts! Stranger Things is coming back for a 4th season in 2022. Alrighty, maybe I'm jumping the gun a bit on this, but it's been 2 whole years since the first teaser, and man, I need some Hawkins in my life, and... What's that? There's a new teaser out while I'm recording this video? But this goes out like 4 or 5 days after... Okay, well, that makes this whole intro kind of sucky now. Crap. Okay, screw it. Let's talk references.
Hold on to your butts, bro chachos.
Now, as is stated in my contract, I do have to start every video with some form of Disney reference, so let's get this out of the way.
You want to be a star, don't you?
There are a bunch of Star Wars references in Stranger Things, not only in toy form and direct call-outs by characters, but also in plot mechanics. Eleven's Season 2 trip to Chicago and her ensuing turn toward a sort of dark side of the Force is an intentional nod to Luke's plot in Empire Strikes Back. Now, I could go on and on with this point, Steve referring to the one with the teddy bears, 11 using her Force powers to levitate the Millennium Falcon, but come on, not a single one of you missed any of those references. Now, as a little bonus for the art house crowd, the black void that 11 finds herself in whenever she's in a sensory deprivation tank, that actually looks a lot like the one alien ScarJo takes her victims to in 2013's Under the Skin. That has no relation to Star Wars, but, you know, I don't know, I just felt weird giving you a Star Wars one right off the bat, because everybody gets the references to Star Wars, right? Now, for another alien-related entry, Alien! And aliens. Really the whole Alien franchise, which is also technically a Disney property, making this size queen a Disney princess. The Demogorgon's oral fixation is similar to the way facehuggers impregnate their victims, and while it's the sole foe of Season 1, in Season 2 we get a bunch of smaller versions running down our heroes in the hallways of the Hawkins National Laboratory. Similar to how Alien features a singular xenomorph and Aliens contains a multitude, also in a confined space. Oh, and look at this totally original monster egg design. Additionally, the Duffer Brothers cast famed Aliens douche canoe Paul Reiser as Dr. Owens, an obvious swerve since everyone assumed he'd be the villain.
Don't let that fool you, I'm really an okay guy.
And we get a plethora of flamethrowers as well as this horrific massacre of a bunch of ill-prepared soldiers. That scene even includes dialogue ripped directly from the equivalent scene in Aliens.
But stay frosty.
Alright, stay frosty, boys.
In episode 4 of Season 3, Hopper holds a gun to Grigori's head, and the little Russian buckaroo directly quotes Die Hard.
Because you're a policeman. Policemen have rules.
Back to the Future, one of many 80s classics seen as new releases in the show, is referenced a handful of times, but most notably is summed up beautifully by Steve in Season 3.
The one where the DeLorean and Alex P. Keaton and he's trying to bang his mom.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High gets a lot of play in Season 3. Billy getting ogled by moms at the pool is a very direct reference to the Phoebe Cates ogling in that film, complete with a superb use of the song Moving in Stereo by the Cars.
Hey, lord ass! No running on my watch!
At Family Video, Steve declares Fast Times as one of his favorite movies after tripping over a cutout of Phoebe Cates. Oh, and apparently Season 4 character Argyle is based on Sean Penn's cultural touchstone and, well, massive stoner Spicoli.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
On the costuming side of things, the way high schoolers are dressed in Fast Times is a general reference throughout the show. Dustin's hairstyle at the Snowball is a reference to Ducky's hair at the prom in Pretty in Pink, which also seems to have inspired the Snowball itself. And hey, if you were curious what Carol was dressed up as for Halloween, she was dressed as Jennifer Beals' character Alex Owens in Flashdance, which is a film of some importance for men who came of age in the 80s and even in the 90s. I'm not sure anyone who's seen the Neverending Story would have missed this, but for those who somehow haven't seen that film, the duet that Dustin and his girlfriend Susie sing in Season 3 is the theme song. Speaking for myself, I'm really hoping we don't get too many more direct nods to that endlessly traumatizing fantasia of rock people and horse death, just saying. Hey, you see that sign for Hawkins Memorial Hospital? Well, it's basically the same logo as the one seen at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital in Halloween 2. And I guess somewhat unrelated, but that signage was also reused in this year's Halloween Kills, which of course disregards the continuity of Halloween 2. The Evil Dead had a pretty direct nod in Stranger Things marketing for Season 2, which emulates the poster which had already been seen in Season 1 in Jonathan's room. A less direct but almost certainly intentional reference comes in Season 2 when Hopper is attacked by vines, similar to the scene in the original Evil Dead, which I'm not going to show for a whole lot of reasons, but mostly monetization. Speaking of Hopper, I'm pretty sure his full name, Jim Hopper, is a reference to the doomed Green Beret sent to rescue the CIA agents in Predator. Why am I not showing him? Well, because when Arnie and company find him, he's one ugly motherfucker. Yo, speaking of the big shorts, this Russian assassin guy is 100% just aping Arnie's role as the Terminator in, well, the Terminator. Also, there's this marquee in season 2.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator.
Well, I'm stunned. I don't know what to think.
The Duffer Brothers have gone on the record saying their favorite film is Jaws, to the point of even describing the Demogorgon as a shark-esque creature in its motivations, and as such it's no surprise that they've worked a lot of references to the adventures of Bruce the Shark in Stranger Things. This shot of Hopper typing missing is a direct copy of a similar shot in Jaws, and Hopper's costume is a pretty blatant attempt at copying Chief Brody. Carrie Ellis's Mayor Larry Klein is an homage to Mayor Larry Vaughn in Jaws, and the big fireworks celebration is tied to the 4th of July celebrations in that film as well, and both are interrupted by some killer creature havoc. Joyce's whole character, more so in season 1, is very similar to Richard Dreyfuss's lead in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which oddly enough is also set in Indiana. He's also considered crazy and disrupts his own family life over an extraterrestrial connection, and he uses a physical method of communicating that connection. In Joyce's case, we get the Christmas lights, and in Close Encounters, we get potatoes. There are an aggressive number of John Carpenter references in Stranger Things, which shouldn't be surprising. He's John Carpenter. We get nods to the high school costuming in Christine, which of course is also a Stephen King reference, which we'll get to later. Max dons a Michael Myers costume. Probably the biggest reference point is The Thing, which inspired the Duffer Brothers in their handling of the creature work, which, that tracks. Oh, and bless Lucas for the best description of The Thing in the history of film criticism.
It's like Carpenter's The Thing. The original is the classic, no question about it. But the remake, sweeter, bolder, better.
Additionally, the state trooper who finds Will in the quarry in season 1 is named O'Bannon, which is a pretty clear reference to Dan O'Bannon, one of the most important names in science fiction and horror. He also wrote John Carpenter's first feature film, Dark Star. The Exorcist is a pretty obvious reference point as well, what with the whole possessed Will plotline, right down to being strapped to a bed in a cold room. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, whichever version you want to pull up in the old Mind Palace, is a fairly obvious inspiration for, the whole plot of Season 3, which of course deals with the Mind Flayer possessing the citizens of Hawkins. One of the best instances is this scene at the end of Season 3, Episode 4. We'll Meet Again, a song famously used at the end of Dr. Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, has a similar use in that scene, which of course has similarly apocalyptic connotations, although Dr. Strangelove is a bit more, definitively apocalyptic, if you will. Spoilers for one of the most popular comedy films of all time. We get a hefty dose of David Cronenberg, the absolute master of body horror, throughout Stranger Things. Heck, Dr. Brenner is often compared to Cronenberg due to his look and mannerisms. Will's method of communicating with Joyce through the wall is similar to this gross effect in Videodrome. These little slug boys have a certain resemblance to the creatures in Shivers, and the powers Eleven and her fellow numbers have are of course very similar to the telekinetic powers in Scanners. Altered States, a favorite of mine, gets a cursory visual reference in the form of the deprivation chamber, and in broader strokes, the experiments in the film are the basis for much of the experiments at the lab and the backstory for Eleven's mother, Terry Ives. This one's more about the meaning you may have missed. Larry Cohen's downright masterful schlockfest The Stuff from 1985 is shown on the marquee of the Starcourt movie theater. Of course, Season 3 has a pretty heavy emphasis on criticizing 80s consumerism, much like The Stuff.
That's another sweaty palm. Yes, sir. Hello, sweaty palms.
I was going to talk about Stephen King, but Carrie, Firestarter, it's all pretty blatant. That said, I gotta mention that the opening title sequence font is based on the same one found on books by King, although again, not sure that's something anyone would miss if they're even remotely aware of Maine's Best.
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.